Shalom, Hebrews would be Key to the House of David, Part 3. So where we left off last time, we left off with the riddle of why Peleg was the architect of the tower, not Nimrod, right? If you look up anything, Nimrod, Gilgamesh, what have you, think. I mean, even the Bible says Nimrod founded these cities, right? So I forgot a very important riddle that came to me. Is when they said, come, let us make bricks, and bricks for stone, asphalt for mortar, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is into the heavens, let us make us a name for ourselves. Look up the word name, or Shem, it's just Shem. Shem means name, so they're saying, let us make us a Shem for ourselves. Okay, now, this is why it's Peleg, okay, and not Nimrod, okay, not Gilgamesh, whatever. It's Peleg, a descendant of Shem. This is big. So this is the origin of Melchizedek, okay, because how many, you look this up, a lot of people think Melchizedek is Shem. A very, Order of Melchizedek, a very coveted, sought after, highly esteemed thing within secret societies, right? It was the original order post-deluge. Okay, you look up commentaries, let us make us a name. They're maybe prescribing a chieftain over them, a leader, but it's more of this priest-king order, the Order of Melchizedek. Now, the very phrase, Shalom Hebrews, that I use, has, very common phrase, right, has built into it, somewhat codified, Shalom is Salem, or peace, right? So think of this, Melchizedek, king of Salem. Okay, and if Melchizedek is Shalom, of Shem, it's just another way of saying Shem, or Melchizedek, king of Salem. Shalom Hebrews, because Hebrews, Eber, right, is a descendant of Shem, right? So it's just another way of saying Melchizedek, king of Salem, Shalom Hebrews. It's just a variation of this, okay? So this is the origin post-deluge. You could say the Benben Stone coming up out of the primordial waters, whatever you want to say, right? The mountains coming up, the peak coming up out of the water as the waters reclined. And of course, Peleg, and they found this 15 cubits below this in the salt mine. Well, yeah, Noah's Ark was 15 cubits above the water. Okay, 555, triple nickel, right? We've talked about this, and the what they put on the casket in the vitriol, right? Before their candidate is raised by the strong grip of the lion's paw. It's this 555 or 15 cubits. Okay, so this whole concept of making a tower, whatever you want to call it, a tower, it's really a temple, right? It's kind of the same thing. Noah's Ark is almost more of a temple than it is a boat. It's kind of a box. But it's this black and white, whatever you want to say, checkerboard, okay? And this is Order Ab Chao. I told you we're coming full circle. As they started out, we'll start out with the strong grip of the lion's paw, make a complete 365 or 360 degrees, one full rotation through the 32 gates. We come back, which equals Abraxas, okay? Look at the way of the cherubs, okay? Through the seasons, it's opposite in Revelation. Nonetheless, you make one complete rotation, you come to this royal secret, the key of initiation. That's where we start, key to the house of David. Okay, Shebna doing this vitriol. Okay, so as this comes around, does one complete rotation, we come here to the 32nd degree. This is what we're explaining this video. Other than the obvious, 10 kings reign with a whore for an hour, which we covered plenty on this channel. You watch those other videos. Other than it's the royal secret and it's stylized with a lion holding a key in its mouth. Okay, 32 teeth, right? Okay, Order Ab Chao. What was the chaos? It was the splitting of tongues. So, the waters is the chaos and the cow or the order out of chaos is coming from water to dry land. Look up the word. You're only going to see this once. In the New Testament for cow, chaos, it's gulf. This is the gulf of the rich man and Lazarus and Abraham's bosom. You've heard me talk about this gulf or the sign of Jonah plenty of times on this channel. This is the origin. Look it up. It's shore is one way of putting it. Mouth, tongue, language, word. The lost word is Order Ab Chao. That's why these languages, at the dispersion, the tongues were confused. What happened after the cross? Yeshua said to the disciples, you'll speak in tongues at Pentecost. It was the tongues. It was the opposite of what happened at the Tower of Babel. Should add, this is the list of all the words you pull up if you search the G5490 base, cow. There's obviously a different word for speech or tongue in the Greek New Testament, but this is the list that's related to the chaos. Clearly it's denoting mouth, lips, or G5491 you'll see is shore. So coming from the waters of the mouth to the dry land of the air, you could say. It's also denoting hand, okay? And then hence raised by the strong grip of the lion's paw or the 5 points of fellowship, okay? That's what that's referring to there. Or the hollow of the hand as well, okay? So you can see that, and then the Hebrew equivalent as well is going to be shore. Order of Melchizedek, the very first order. Jesus, Yeshua, was under the Order of Melchizedek, King of Salem. This is Order Ab Chao. Everything really does rely or hang on this lost word because the phonetic alphabet, of course, that's Phoenicians, you see in the Strongs. Every time you pull up a Strong's number, it's the phonetic alphabet, correct? So, and you look up this tower, oftentimes they say was to save them from the waters in case another flood came. Of course, they already had boats. But what this is really talking about is the waters being the chaos. So you have this idea. Of course, they got all these islands listed here at the 32nd degree, like, Cyprus, Malta, and then the shore of Rhodes. Of course, these are all probably Templar commandery positions, but it was more or less, you look up the word for Midgard, the Viking Midgard, right? Middle garden, okay? And you look up this word to the Greek equivalent is ecumene, which is the root of the ecumenical movement, okay? So all these islands, kind of the known inhabited world, can somewhat be linked to the middle garden of the sanctuary, okay? Or the ecumenical movement, another way of saying it, because, of course, it's all spiritual, right? So anyway, I know a lot of people, I think at in Knights of Malta, there's a meeting at Rhodes where they have all these ecumenical churches come together. Anyway, so this lost word is going to be somewhat, you can link it to John the Baptizer as well. His dad, when he saw Gabriel, was mute. Okay, so John the Baptist, of course Elijah in this case, represents the 1260. There's plenty of widows in Israel during the time of the famine, but it only went to the Syrian widow, correct? So, John the Baptist, which is spiritually Elijah, was the mute, or the waters, or the lost word, and Yeshua was the word is found. So you could just say, another way of saying chaos is the lost word, when in the ordo is the found word. This is why, think about this. You can understand a lot about where the spiritual seat of, or the mystical seat of power is based on the Vulgar Tongue. Of course, in the Old Testament, it was the Phoenician Hebrew dialect. And you can see when this happenings of Hezekiah, when the Assyrians came, they knew Hebrew. So Hebrew was probably considered the English of our day. A lot of people would say, well, it's the Phoenicians. But I'm saying if the Assyrians are speaking Hebrew, then clearly this was somewhat of a vulgar language or a common language. Of course, as you move on, it goes to Greek. And then it goes to Latin. Of course, that would be the Vatican. And then goes to what? English. This is why, and of course, the word was lost during the Dark Ages, during that 1260. 3.5, Elijah. So the word was found when it went to the Vulgar English with the King James 1611. That's what was going on. This is why the word was found in the Protestant Reformation, okay, or the going from the Vatican or continental Europe to the British Isles. Okay, that's also Emerald Isle, okay, Venus, the morning star. Jesus and both Lucifer in the Bible are considered the morning star. Okay, son of the morning, you can see that in Isaiah, but then Jesus is the morning star as well. So rising in your heart. So you're coming up out of this primordial deluge, primordial waters, and it's coming, or the chaos, I should say, the Tower of Babel, right, was trying to prevent the word from being lost, or the chaos. Okay, that's what's really going on. So the word was found in the Protestant Reformation as it moved to the Vulgar Tongue. Okay, this is why the image of the beast, the widow's son, masonry, the lambskin aprons in Revelation 13, or a little bit before that, speaks in the sight of the first beast, the Vatican Rome. So that sums up that chapter. We'll continue.